It confronts the root of performance, okay? We're talking about the version of you that the public sees, that's not the real you inside. It's the one that shows up for church, the one who shows up to work, the one who is present in relationships. But sometimes that's not who we really are. We're portraying someone else. We all play roles from the beginning of our lives to the end, and those roles change as we go through our lives. William Shakespeare has a famous quote in one of his plays, and it says, "All the world is a stage, and all the men and women are merely players. They have their parts, they have their entrances and their exits, and each man or woman in his time plays many different parts." You know, we think of Shakespeare as a storyteller, but he's also a philosopher. Think about that. And we as women, we are really good at carrying many different roles. Most of the time, we have multiple roles at the same time. You know, we're all somebody's daughter. We're all somebody's friend. We may have siblings. We may have gone to school, so we have classmates. We've been a girlfriend, now we're a wife, now we're not, whoever, you are where you are. We also have these other things that we play the role as. We're church members, we're mothers, we're aunties, we're grandmothers. You understand, depending on who we are with, there's a role that we must play. And within those roles are certain activities that we are expected to do or jobs that we are expected to be good at. One is nurturing. You're a woman, you should be able to nurture, right? Maybe. One is housekeeping. We're supposed to keep the house clean and everything orderly, right? I'm really terrible at that. I finally have just admitted that. I'm really terrible at that. Then we start having children and we are suddenly the infant survival specialist. Because, you're a woman, you know how to do this. I never had a baby before, But yeah, now you're the infant survival specialist. Then you're also the late night baby feeder, the poopy diaper changer, the nutrition supervisor, the clothing, cleaning, and maintainer. You're the nurse, you're the bookkeeper, you're the driver as your children start getting older. You're their social calendar coordinator. You're the homework specialist. And then they become teenagers. And you, for a while, are that shoulder to cry on. And then you become very powerful because then you have ruined my life. And Mom, you're such an embarrassment. You're a total embarrassment. You see, we have all of these things that we carry with us, these roles that we play and these activities that we are involved in because we are expected to be involved in them, correct? But those roles change as we go through our lives and as the needs of the people around us change. Are we good at all those things? No. Let's just be honest. Do we do them anyway? Who else is going to do it? That's the life of a woman. And the men would probably say, "Oh, we have those kind of things too." I said, "Yeah, but infant survival specialist? No, that's not you." So my story begins, and some of this I don't actually remember. I'm just extrapolating from what I learned later. I was born, okay, I don't remember that. And as far as I know, according to my parents, I was a happy, healthy, growing, learning to walk and talk child who was secure in the love of my parents. But then something happened, and suddenly I was not the apple of my parents' eye anymore. There was a baby sister. And I was beginning to doubt my very existence. I was told to be a big girl, be a good example, be a helper, be responsible. Now, mind you, I was not yet 2 years old. So yeah, I began to doubt my very existence. Why? Why do they not love me anymore? Why? And about the time I finally settled in with the little sister and she learned to walk and talk a little bit, boom, here comes another sibling. This time it's a boy. And I was devastated because my father was so happy. And I thought, why is he happy now that he has a son? Wasn't he happy with the 2 girls? And if you talk to my dad, you would say he was ecstatic about the girls because all he had was And I thought, why is he happy now that he has a son? Wasn't he happy with the 2 girls? Well, in my defense, it was the 60s, the 1960s, so that was probably actually true. But and again, the sibling came, the third one, the second one came. I was not yet 4 years old, and I had already discovered that boys are better than girls in society's eyes. You know? So yeah, that was the beginning of my lack of self-esteem, I suppose. My mother, when I was about 5 years old, decided to go back to college and finish her degree and become a teacher. So part of that was that she would read to us every night. She would always read something. She was reading to us all the time. So she tells me that I taught myself how to read. I don't remember that. For me, I've always known how to read. She also gave me piano lessons because she was a music teacher. So for me, reading words and reading music are the same because I learned them at the same time. So I turned 6 years old. It's time to go to school. I've never been to school before in my life except Sunday school. And I can already read. So my classmates started making fun of me. You're a smarty pants. You're a show-off. So I learned to hide my intelligence from my peers, but not from my instructors. The teachers, I really wanted their approval. I didn't care about Later, when you start getting grades and everybody knows what grade you make, my peers started making fun of me for making good grades. You're a nerd. So I started hiding my intelligence from everybody, including from the teachers. I would purposefully mark a wrong answer on an exam because I did not want to make 100%. Again, hiding God's gift. My parents were concerned that my grades were falling, but scores on standardized tests that they issue every year were fine, and I was actually in the 90th percentile on the standardized testing because those scores were never made public. I was ridiculed for my God-given talents, and so I learned to hide them. By age 7, I had a basic understanding of the gospel because I grew up in church. My mother was sitting on the organ bench the night before I was born counting contractions. They didn't even go home. They went straight from the Sunday night service to the hospital. And I think I missed the next Sunday, but I think I was in church from the time I was 2 weeks old. Because she was the organist and she had to be there. So at age 7, I can remember this. Now here's where my memories start getting pretty clear. I knelt at the altar with my mother and asked Jesus into my heart because I understood that I was a sinner and that I needed him in my life. I was so excited about becoming a Christian. I really was. But then I went to school, and I tried to share my faith at school. Again, I was ridiculed. Was called a goody-goody. So I hid my faith. I continued to play the role, though, of the responsible older sibling, because I had been doing that since before I was 2 years old, even though I just wanted to be a kid. I just wanted to do what kids do. I didn't want to be responsible. I wanted to be a kid. I hid my emotions because I heard big girls don't cry. I hid my frustration and my anger and my confusion. Oh, you're so dramatic. Don't be so emotional. So I put on a mask of self-assured confidence that I really didn't feel. I would say, yeah, I can help you with that. Sure, I can do that. I can fix that. Even though I wasn't sure I could do any of it, I was always available. I pretended I could do it so people thought I could. Some people called me precocious, and some people called me bossy. It is what it is. Middle and high school came along and saw me wearing different masks depending on where I was. The audience changed, so my mask had to change. I was one way at home, the responsible older sibling. I was another way at school and another way at church. This was very confusing. But again, I hid. I wasn't sure which one of those was the real me. It's probably a little bit of all of them, but I wasn't really sure. And when you get to that age when you're a teenager, you start questioning everything. I turn 18, I graduate from college, or from high school, and I get a scholarship to a college that's about 2 hours away from my home. And I think, finally, I'm free. Nobody knows me at that college. Maybe I can figure out who I really am. I started well. I got involved in the student ministry on campus. It was a different denomination from my parents, but it was still a bit Bible-believing group of people. But then one day a lady told me I needed to get saved. And I thought, who is she to tell me I need to get saved? I've been saved since I was 7 years old. I was wearing the right mask. I was doing the right things, but I was still condemned as a sinner. I began to question everything. If a so-called Christian can't see that I'm a Christian, what's the point? So I started experiencing the whole college atmosphere. I was experimenting, trying to find where do I fit. Started drinking, partying, inappropriate relationships, just trying to find somewhere I fit in and where I could find acceptance for who I really was, even though I didn't know who I really was. So I had this rebellious streak. I think we all go through that at some point. But when word of my rebellious behavior reached my home church, I was shunned by the very people who should have helped me. I had just put on a different mask at college to try to fit in with my new college classmates. That one wasn't me either, and I still didn't know who I was. Eventually, that lifestyle of drinking and partying and college, shenanigans became unfulfilling and frankly exhausting. So I thought, my life was much more peaceful when I was wearing the Christian mask. So I returned to the faith and put the mask of good girl on again. I met a Christian man, I fell in love, got married, added the mask of good wife to the good girl mask, the good Christian girl. Then I had children. Then I added the mask of good mom. All the while, I was still confused and exhausted by the constant stress of trying to meet society's expectations. I was questioning my basic humanity, my worth, trying to keep everyone from knowing that I didn't really have it all together. William Shakespeare, again, in Macbeth, says, "Tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. Life is but a walking shadow, a poor player that struts and frets his hour upon the stage, and then is heard no more. It is a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing." And that's the way I felt about my life. I am so busy, I am doing all the things right, and I am still empty. I have no significance. I signify nothing. The masks had become who I thought I was. I was living a life of performance rather than purpose, projecting an image of what I wanted other people to perceive me as. I was looking for approval from the world, but not approving of myself. I was emotionally, socially, and spiritually exhausted from trying to wear all those masks. Why do we do it? Society expects it of us. Culture demands it. Since I've been here, I don't know how many people have asked me, "How are you?" And what do you say when someone says, "How are you?" Whether you're fine or not, you say it. If you say anything else, they look at you funny. I've stopped saying fine. I'm saying so far so good, and they look at me like, that's not what I was expecting. Even though it's still fine, it's not what they were expecting. We carry on wearing those masks because it's expected of us. We say "Ngia pila" when we feel terrible, when we are not okay. But apparently, according to society, it is not okay to be not okay. We have fear, we have doubt, we have rejection, we feel unworthiness, and we've all experienced all of those things because we live among fallen human beings. We've all experienced that. We try to hide that guilt and shame from others, not only from the ones who have hurt us, but from God, who's the only one who can heal us. The mask we all wear is very detrimental. You might think that that mask is there for self-defense. We believe that it grants us the freedom to hide who we truly are and how we really feel, because we are afraid. We're afraid of being found out. We doubt our decisions. We're afraid of making a mistake. We feel insignificant. We're afraid of being rejected, and we think we are not good enough. We are totally inadequate. The mask is there to hide those emotions from other people, but we know they're there. My biggest fear at that time was that someone would get a glimpse into what I really was and would not like me. And I would be rejected again and hurt again in a never-ending cycle, so I hid my true feelings. Again, we rationalize and we think we're doing it in self-defense. But the mask is dangerous. It's destructive. And it hinders us from the life that God intended for us to lead. We think about masks, and I think of those Halloween masks. I mean, you guys here, it's not such a big deal, but I know you've seen them in movies and things. Those plastic things that go right on your face. You know, someone else's face, the plastic one's got this tiny little slit for your eyes. It might have a hole for your nose, but maybe not, and a little tiny hole for your mouth. That mask is not helping you. That mask distorts your vision. You cannot see the world for what it is because you're looking through a tiny little hole. You cannot see yourself for who, as God sees you. You have a limited view of things because you have limited your vision. You miss things because you have no vision to the side. You are focused right in the center of defending myself. It also limits your ability to really express yourself. When someone says something and you want to react, the first thing you say is, should I say that? No, that doesn't fit with the mask I'm wearing. I can't say that. I need to say this instead. Like when someone asks you, how are you? And you feel like you're about to cry, and you say, I'm fine. It limits your ability to truly express yourself. When you speak, your words are twisted and misunderstood, and real communication is muffled by the mask you wear. What you see and what you say are limited by the mask that you wear. Wearing a mask also limits your ability to take in the good things that God has for you. How am I going to eat with that mask? How am I going to breathe with that mask? These are life-giving things I need to be doing, but I can't do it very well with that mask on. It blocks your perception of true affection and affirmation, gaslighting you into thinking that someone is being insincere or mocking when they show genuine love for you. It's like I say to myself, I know that I don't deserve good things because I know how I really am. So how can someone actually love me when I don't love myself? So you think the mask is defensive, but it's very, very destructive. That mask will prevent you from enjoying and experiencing God's restoring presence. We hide those emotions, and they just fester and boil inside. We think we're defending ourselves, but we're causing more damage. What are those emotions that we're trying to hide? The biggest one is insecurity. It's insecurity. When we try to hide that, we're trying to hide what we really feel at the core of our being. And what we are really feeling is not insecurity, it's fear. It's fear. We are living our lives in fear. Some of the other ones are indecision, fear of making a mistake. We're covering up that we can't decide because we have doubts that we are able to make a good decision. We ask ourselves, what if? What if I make a bad decision and everybody finds out and they think I'm stupid? So what? But we don't want people thinking we're stupid. We want people thinking we are perfect. The other emotion that we try to hide is our own insignificance. The fear that we are not making a difference in the world. Again, we are trying to conceal that feeling that we have of inferiority. My opinion doesn't matter. My feelings don't matter. I'm not good enough to have any input in this situation. Anything that I do is irrelevant. Nobody listens to me. There are other people who can do everything better than I can. I can't do anything right, so I just won't do anything. That's where that train of thought ends up. So that mask of inferiority can be very, very limiting. Feeling rejected. This is more than fear of missing out, FOMO. Everybody knows about FOMO. We all know fear of missing out. Yeah, that's a healthy fear. If you're adventurous, I don't want to miss that. That looks like fun. No, being rejected is when we want to hide the fact that we feel truly unloved or that we are unworthy of love. That's real rejection. You know, we get to that point sometimes. Why, I'm surprised anybody likes me. Why would anybody like me? You know, it's just that feeling of rejected. If you've been rejected enough, you're going to feel that you deserve it. The last emotion that we're trying to hide is that feeling of inadequacy, that we're just not good enough. We're not good enough at our job. We're not good enough for a relationship. We're not good enough just even to be alive. These emotions can paralyze us and hinder us from reaching our God-given potential. They keep us from seeing relationships as something positive and helpful and points of connection, because it's relationships that have caused the rejection and the feelings of insignificance and the feelings of inadequacy. We see relationships as threatening. People have and people will let us down. So we struggle with these profound questions. Can I trust God?